Hello, I'm Ryan Schian, and this is my week one presentation for EDU 662, and just the role of standards in your professional practice. So what do the standards actually mean to me? Well, clearly, it's what the students need to know, and it's what I need to teach, and it just holds me more accountable. It's just nice to have that source that I can go to know what the students are going to be, what they need to know to be valuable members of society, and what they need to know to be successful in college or anything after high school. In addition, I've been a teacher for 3 years now. This is my first year doing a combination of social studies and language arts. So my first 2 years I was social studies, so that background gives me a little bit of a different feel for the Common Core. Because we used the Michigan GLICs, and it was very specific on what I needed to teach, and it was an extensive list, almost to the point where it's kind of scary to be like, I have to cover all this in this amount of time. The Common Core is a lot more user-friendly, so I enjoy that. It also gives you a lot more freedom, I believe, to actually teach, as long as you're hitting the content, like which articles you want to go over, or which books you want to read. It's like I said, I enjoy it much more, teaching language arts. So what did I take away from Appleby's article? Well, some things that I liked about it is that, actually, word for word from here, it just mentioned how do we make the standards work for our profession? And one thing that really caught my eye is that some people are teaching to the test. For the short term, this is really good. It's going to make your scores look really good for that year, but so the short term effects is very positive, but the long term effects aren't really showing the same results. Just tests change over time. It just, let me read this here. I like this. Judith A. Langer's studies of middle school and high schools, where students have succeeded against the odds, suggest a different vision of curriculum and instruction, one that emphasizes engaging students in challenging subject matter while providing them with the knowledge and skills to engage with the material successfully. So just using different strategies and different thought-provoking activities is going to be much better than just teaching to the test, especially in the long term, because just like I said, tests do change over time. Being familiar with a format is it going to be that beneficial? Of course, short term definitely. Long term, they might not be as comfortable. In addition, the best practice is that students want to learn about things that they're interested in. So definitely make topics worth talking about, things that they can make a connection to. For me, taking a position is really nice, being able to make an argument and back it up with textual evidence and support. That's something that Common Core really focuses on, as well as in my classroom as well. So some pros and cons from this article is that the standards focus on results rather than the means. I agree with this. I've never been a fan of just looking at the final result. I'm always a fan of how did you get that result, and Common Core really is beneficial in that matter. It creates more of a college and career-ready individual, and I like as well how they're moving towards 70% of things read should be informational text. Just being an ELA teacher already, I can tell you so many kids love silent reading time just because they can go and read their book from the library, and they love that narrative. So they don't get really introduced into these informational texts, which is really unfortunate, but I enjoy that we're moving towards informational text just because I can see a lot more benefits in that way. Some cons is that writing seems to be assigned rather than taught. Again, just the whole means just write a cause and effect essay, or it's really frustrating to kind of see in the Common Core just being like, hey, they need to be able to do this, rather than give you a step-by-step model on, okay, how do they get there? But so that can be a little frustrating. I know that there are some things out there like MESA units that give you lessons and can help you out make those steps. But just having the Common Core throw out, hey, this is what you need to have, that can be a con for some people. I can see that. In addition to this, the word several is used on a couple of the standards. What is several? I mean, if this was like a Family Feud or something, we take people like on the streets and get their answers, you're not going to have the same answer every time. What is several? So one piece of information, so 2, 3, 5. So a little more, was a little more specific. That would be nice. And lack of a rich developing model for writing. The reading lessons are a little more spelled out than the writing. So just as I spoke about a few moments ago, with the writing seems to be assigned rather than taught, that kind of goes hand in hand. So this is the process that I use. Let's slide over here. So first I like to identify which standard needs to be used. And this is the process I use when I go over what I'm going to teach. So again, identify the standard that needs to be used. And then I go over to, I determine how to implement that in my classroom. Next, I determine how to teach the material based on the students' learning styles. I have one class that is really hands-on, really likes to get up and move around. And I have one class that is very quiet and likes individual work. So sometimes I make specific lessons for specific classes. Like the end result is the same, but they might go about it in a different way. I give a learning target to the students. I'll speak about this more in a moment, just what I want the students to learn. I teach the material and collect the student work. I evaluate the student work to ensure that learning has occurred. And lastly, I provide feedback to ensure the students reach their learning targets. So some websites that I used is just the Common Core website. Here I like to view the standards. I also like to view the previous year's standards as well. You can't really assume what the students know coming into your class. So I like to see what they did the previous year. And I like talking to like the previous year teacher, which is really nice because I'm 6th grade in our 5th grade hallways. I mean, a 1-minute walk down the hall, so I can always ask another teacher what they do, what they should know. And the crosswalk is really nice right here. So I can look ahead to see what students are going to learn in future years and what they need to know now, and it's also aligned with the state standards. So I'll actually show you this quick because it's really nifty here. So again, this is the crosswalk, and this is just on the Michigan.gov website. So again, it tells you for this right here, so like reading the standards for literature, they need to be able to find textual evidence and support in the 6th grade, 7th grade, and then 8th grade, and over here it aligns with the GLICs. So it's very simple, it's all in one place. So I like looking at this as well. And pretty good document. I enjoy it. Good. And then just on the Common Core website, just going here and then clicking on. All right, so if we're doing informational reading, you can click on this. I enjoy not just looking at the grade 6 because that's what I teach. I enjoy looking at grade 5 as well. Again, just to kind of see, hey, like, what have they learned or what my expectations should be. So I'm just going to give you a brief rundown of what I taught this week using this model that I just showed you, this little flow chart. But the first thing is you can't expect to teach everything in one lesson. Give a worksheet out or reading guide. Hey, summarize this, identify this, analyze this, compare this, contrast this, infer this. It's could be way too much. It's nice to be specific on what your expectations are and have them, rather than cover all like the surface level of everything, get more depth. So first was identify which standard needs to be used. So I actually looked at my MESA unit, and here they focused on things that I need to teach, an argument paragraph, a narrative reading, a literary essay, informational reading, and a few other things. But, these are some of the Common Core standards that a specific lesson actually has. So we did an informational article. I wanted to focus on just these things, finding textual evidence and determining meanings of words, like why is word choice actually used, rather than saying like a forest got burned really bad. Why saying like it was like savagely burned? It's why I use the word savagely. So I enjoy focusing on word choice with kids as well. And then, so we have an informational essay that the kids have to write, and then these are everything that they need to know. So pre-writing, recording, developing, determining, drafting, selecting a topic. We're not there yet. We'll get there in a couple weeks, but right now I just like to know the effects of, the relationship between cause and effect relationships. We're going over a lot of informational articles right now. So next I determine how to teach the material based on the students' learning styles. So again, I try and find topics that are interesting to them. For this one, we went over some fires in the Yellowstone National Park in 1988 and the effects that it had. In addition to actually finding things that the students might want to learn, is something that they're learning in another class. So I like focusing on, we have a weekly newsletter that goes out to families who sign up for it. So I get to see what teachers are doing in science and social studies and other classes. So that's kind of nice, so I can relate when I'm looking for an informational article. I can be like, hey, they're learning about bald eagles and the food chain in science. I can try and find an article similar to that to get them more engaged. I like to give a learning target. Again, this is what the students need to learn, because it's really frustrating when I know this from example. Well, for example, I know a lot of parents struggle with asking their kids, "Hey, what did you learn in school today?" And they're like, "Nothing," or "I don't know." Well, the learning target tells you exactly what is expected of them. So our learning target was to, I will read and analyze the Yellowstone Fires article to determine the cause and effect relationships, and I will look for signal words to help reach this goal, and just a list of signal words to help you with the cause and effect, looking for cause and effect in an informational text. So again, I even let them know the standards on, hey, this is what I'm expected to teach you, this is what you're expected to learn. Sometimes it's nice. I mean, sometimes it can get a little wordy, but sometimes it's nice just giving them just the primary source. This is what you need to learn today. But otherwise, I just use the learning target because that's a little more 6th grade user friendly. Next, I teach the material and collect the students' work. So I like to engage the students with a video if I can find one that's interesting enough for them. I'll pass out a reading guide, and we will read an article. For this one, we read this article, the Yellowstone makes a triumphant return 10 years after fires. We looked at the effect and some causes of it. We looked at a specific cause and what was the effect. So for this one, we use Yellowstone fires. What caused it? It even spelled that in the article. It was human origins and lightning, but there's 3 areas, so they need to make an inference. Well, in order for a fire to happen, there has to be drought. So I would give the students some time to think about that. As well as what is human origins. The article just said human origins. So I would give the students some time to think about what are some possible things. So some kids came up with examples like cigarettes, or not putting out their campfires, or not listening to Smokey the Bear. But yeah, so it's always good fun. And same thing for causes. What are some of the effects of it? Millions of acres burned, and wildlife being restored, because it actually had some positive effects. More visitors to Yellowstone Park. So, and then they need to find textual evidence to back that up if it's not an inference. So I would evaluate the students' work to ensure that learning has occurred, and then provide specific feedback to ensure the students reach their learning target. So not just hey, this answer's right, hey, this answer's wrong. Need to be specific. Your word choice here is phenomenal. Or I would give them sentence starters rather than one question might only ask for one word answer, and I would be this is a great complete sentence if they did it correctly. It's just giving that specific feedback goes a long, long way. And then if kids aren't getting it, you can always reteach and add new standards if they do get it. So that is basically the process that I use for using Common Core standards and Michigan standards. This is my reference page. Most of the things I talk about in this presentation. Otherwise, we are looking good. All right, I look forward to seeing everybody else's things, and have a nice day.